Hey everybody, Nick here, and today I want to talk to you, as I'm finishing up this disassembly. I wanted to do a quick disassembly discourse for you about the collections, and what kinds of collections in the gear world that I respect most. This is, by the way, an Indiana Knives exclusive real steel metamorph with N690 steel and G10 scales. But that's not the point of the video. The point of the video is to rant at you a little bit. And the topic of today's rant is, like I said, collections, and more specifically, the kinds of collections that I respect most. Very, very often, I will, look on Instagram, right? I'll look on Reddit. I will, search forums and whatnot, looking at watch collections, at knife collections, etc. This is just a thing that I do for fun, right? Because I'm completely insane. And very often, when I see a collection that I personally, in my own estimation, feel is awesome, if I remember to do so, and if I have a moment, I'll comment something like, "Hey, great collection! It's awesome," right? Because I'm an enthusiast. At the end of the day, I may be a reviewer, but I'm an enthusiast too. And very often, or maybe not very often, but often enough that it's stood out to me, people will respond in a way that's kind of predictable, and maybe it's just humility that they're showing there, but that bothers me a little bit. And they'll say something like, "Well, Nick, thank you very much. That means a lot. I know you know some high-end stuff." And you don't have to say that part. But then they'll say something like, "A lot of my stuff is pretty low-end compared to yours, so my collection isn't nearly as good." And that bugs me, because in my mind, in my estimation, in my view of the world, the quality of a collection isn't necessarily the same thing as its combined value, right? One can have an absolutely amazing collection and stay in relatively budget-friendly territory. The thing that, to me, makes a collection awesome isn't the, price point. It's not the level of stuff that's in there. I have seen people who have, massive hoards, basically, of super high-end knives, but they know nothing about them. They don't really care about them. They've just picked them up because, well, I heard that this person was really high-end, so I wanted to have a piece from them, because they're sort of just collecting whatever the best of the best is. That's fine, and they can do some awesome stuff, but that, to me, is not... that doesn't have the same, I don't know, it has a very different feeling than somebody who has spent what is very clearly a great deal of time looking at the options. Somebody who's spent a great deal of time thinking carefully about their needs, going through and saying, okay, I have this price point. That's a constraint. Within this price point, I need something that is going to accomplish X. Whether that is, I need a harder use piece, if a knife, or I need a dive watch, or I need a blah, 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 blah. They've spent a lot of time thinking about, a particular need that they've isolated, or perhaps made up. Let's be real here. Do I need a dress watch? No, but I made one up, so hey, whatever. And I'm going to switch over here to the Civivi Knives Praxis, because it's been a little while since I gave this one love, and I'm still talking, right? So, anyways, there are people who have thought very, very carefully about every element of their everyday carry, or every element of whatever collection it is that we're talking about here. It's immediately apparent to me, because then you look at these and it's sort of like, okay, this is a gem, this is a gem, this piece is a gem here, this piece is unique, even if I don't necessarily know that it's a gem, and, maybe there'll be one or two pieces that I'm not as big a fan of, but I don't care. You know what? It's your collection, not mine. But to me, at least, that's the kind of thing that really jumps out at me. When somebody has taken the time to curate their collection. And curation can look like many things, right? It can be super high-end. I know people with an amazing high-end curated collections where it's just like, holy crap. Your collection could be a pretty reasonable museum of knife making. That's great. I can respect that too. But again, there's the passion there. There's the thought about it. It's like, I want this piece because of this very specific reason. It's not just that they've, gone online and they've Googled best knives and then, searched for whatever came back. Although God knows that's going to get you pretty far away from the best knives if you trust the articles you see. Anyways, I digress. But, it's not that they've just done that. It's that they've spent a lot of time thinking about which of the best makers they want to do and hunting those things down. The other thing that I can really respect a great deal is people with very strong specialization. right? People who, again, maybe not on the super high end, but have found something that brings them an amazing amount of joy. Some of my Patreon patrons, and I won't name names just to not make anybody awkward, but there's one person in particular who is a high-end collector of Swiss Army knives. And what I mean by that is not that they're looking for, gold-plated, diamond-studded Swiss Army knives. No, this is a person who just knows an obscene amount about Swiss Army knives. This is a person who has, spent a lot of time thinking about this world, and as a result, his collection of Swiss Army knives is on point. And he's got a really good working knowledge of a bunch of the really rare versions and things like that. It's not my jam, I'll be completely honest with you. I'm not a nail-knit guy, but at the same time, I can respect 100% the care and the caution that's going into his selection of, I want to add this piece to my collection. This is it's a collection that I absolutely respect, even though it's not necessarily of super pricey stuff. Although certainly, God, some of the high-end Swiss Army knives can go completely nuts in the price bracket. I had no freaking idea. I should have had a freaking idea, but I guess I didn't. Right? But again, this is another example of a case where a collection is absolutely respectable and frankly absolutely amazing, but not necessarily high-end, but not necessarily made up of, pardon me, 50 pieces, each of which are, the price of a small car, right? And so, I don't know, I guess my reason for posting this video is that so often I see people who are on the budget end of this hobby, who look at the hobby and go like, oh my God, I'm just, I can never, afford to ride with the really pricey collections, the folks who are really deep into it. Therefore, my contribution to the community, my contribution to the Reddit, to the Discord, to the Instagram, or frankly, just my contribution as a collector at a blade show isn't as good. And this angers me immensely because no. In many ways, the people who spend less money in this hobby are the smart ones, right? Same thing in watches. Oh, my God, yes. And so, I don't know. At least to me, that sentiment of, oh, my collection is not expensive, therefore it must be not good, that bugs the crap out of me. If you are a person who loves collecting on the budget end, then that's awesome. Rock on. And I'm sure you will have one of the very best selections of pocket knives if you're thinking, or watches or pens or whatever the heck you're collecting. I'm talking knives because I'm disassembling a knife, right? But of whatever the heck it is you're after, you will have an amazing collection that is absolutely worthy of respect. If you are a person of higher means, no doubt you can find other pieces that will meet those needs. And the other thing to remember, too, is that knowing that, oh, okay, I have this budget, I definitely respect the folks who say things like, well, if I had a little bit more cash, I would probably replace this one with this one, but this is the very best thing I can do at this time. The very best thing I afford. That is something, that's a sentiment I absolutely appreciate, and I would never hold against somebody. So, I don't know. I guess the moral of this story, insofar as there is a story and there is a moral here, is just spend the time thinking about your collection, curate it, whatever the heck your price points are, whatever the heck your desires are, whatever the heck area in the collecting world you're after. Take the time, think it through, share it with people, explain the joy that you find in it, and by God, I'm going to respect the heck out of your work. And I think a lot of the higher-end collectors, certainly there are going to be snobs, there are going to be jerks out there, but I think a lot of folks are going to understand it. A lot of folks are going to go, yeah, nice, nicely done. Because at the end of the day, that's what this whole damn thing is about. This is, unfortunately, and by this I mean knives, I mean watches, I mean pens, all of these things, this is a materialistic hobby, right? Pardon me. Trying not to die over here. It's not the Rona, it's the Thai food, actually. Oh, a little spicy at the dinner. But anyways, it can be a very materialistic hobby. It can feel like, oh, well, how do you be a good knife collector? You just swipe that credit card a whole bunch, right? But I don't think that's the way it has to be. I think what we need to be thinking about is doing right. I think we're not just doing right by people, of course, that's important too, but just finding the best stuff. And the best stuff is going to be the best stuff for you, and the best stuff for you might be the best stuff at any price point that works out well for you. And I think if you are, a serious collector, and if you are a person who values the time that you spend thinking about your gear, and values the time that you've spent curating your collection, then by God, I think that's something you should respect as well. So anyways, keep up the good work. I mean, no matter your price point, no matter your level of fancitude, no matter your specific area within there, if you're putting the effort in, you're curating the collection, and you're doing your best to create something that brings you a lot of joy, then you're doing it right. And I respect the hell out of it. So anyways, there's a rant. Hope it was interesting to you, and have yourselves just an absolutely wonderful rest of your day. Bye now.